You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Hello and welcome to Orange County's longest running business talk show. And yes, I am your host, Rick Franzi. And oh boy, do we have a good show planned for you today. Why do you ask? Because Tom Snelling, president of Food Systems Incorporated, is our featured guest. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to see you, Rick. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. So let's go back in time and start off by having you tell us what was the original motivation for you to join Food Systems Incorporated?
Well, the company was founded by my stepfather and my mother in 1972. And so I had worked for them in high school and a little bit in college, just as a side server, doing odd jobs. I had a vending route at one time where I actually loaded cigarette machines, if you can believe that. I'll probably date myself just a little bit, but and so but so I had worked for them and was familiar with the company, but then I'd gone through college and graduated and got a job actually with the National Football League back when they had offices out in Los Angeles. And so I had been doing that for about 5 years, and it was a great job, and actually met my wife there, and I made a lot of lifelong friends and learned a ton about business. But it was a little bit limited, and the scuttlebutt was that the offices were probably going to move back to New York City. And I wasn't too sure if I wanted to do that, especially looking at the landscape with the company and seeing what my opportunities were. So Don Phelps, my stepdad, offered me to come on as head of the sales department to try to get new business. And that was in 1995. And a little bit better pay and more of an opportunity to kind of grow. And I jumped at that. One of the things I love about this business, what I did then and even what I still do now is, because we're food service providers for business and industry, we work with a lot of different types of companies. So I'm able to kind of cross-section with all different kinds of people, whether, we've had cafeterias at the Orange County Register, Quest Diagnostics, Avon Products, ADP, all manufacturing, B&I, all that kind of stuff. So that's neat because you get to learn a lot about how different businesses run, and even being on the food service end of it, you get to make some good contacts. So that was kind of my starting point coming to the company, and knock on wood, it's been going good so far. So
if I did the math right, you're coming up on your 30-year anniversary with the company?
One more year. I think it'll be 25. So wow. Not too bad.
Yeah, no, because you said you started in 1995?
Yeah, they haven't kicked me out yet. So right. May of 95. But so,
wow, look at that.
Coming up. Yeah.
Longevity. And
right.
You're now the president?
Correct, yes.
And general manager?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So in addition to the selling routes that you started, you're responsible for the general operation of the business?
Yeah, basically, looking at our systems, looking at kind of overseeing how we're banking, how we're technology-wise, how we're transacting business, staffing, and then obviously working with our vendors. Our biggest vendors, US Foods. I'm sure everybody in this area always sees their trucks. They're huge. They deliver to all the restaurants and hotels and people like us, contract food service operators. So, so it's the general manager role is and title is probably a lot more accurate than president, because as much as I'd like to not do much and sit around and kind of just oversee things, I'm a little more involved on a day-to-day basis. So, we're a smaller company, and that's how that works.
So over the years, I'm sure your business has been faced with challenges, maybe even serious. I'm just wondering, was there a time when an economic thing happened, or COVID or something, that really had to cause you to take a step back and look hard at the service model to make sure the business were to survive?
Yeah, we've never really hit an inflection point that you would really describe as kind of that severe. Obviously, the pandemic was a big issue for us. We were fortunate in that so many of our client accounts stayed up and running, and some of them obviously a lot of people were working from home, and so it was a little bit of a reduced model, compared to what we were doing before. But we weren't, fortunately, we weren't like maybe a lot of public restaurants that either were forced to shut down or forced to really drastically change the way they were doing things. And but even all that being said, we still had to apply for PPP loans, which obviously helped us out. We just used that completely for labor, and we're able to pay our people, because we would not have been able to stick around during the pandemic at our the staffing levels we had from, say, summer of 2019 over that next couple of years. The PPP loans really helped out with that. So no, I think our biggest issue that we face right now probably is just we have to be, if we're going to be viable, people have to come into work, because we feed them at work. So the way the whole atmosphere is changed with working home and all that kind of stuff has been a challenge, and it's something that we're daily looking at as we speak. So
interesting. Yeah. That's fortunate that the customers that you had the ability to bring people to work, because they were in an industry that was deemed essential. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that didn't really touch us that much. So
good.
yeah.
Okay, so you sort of touched about what Food Systems Incorporated does, but take us inside the business model and explain the service you provide.
So we're what in the old days used to be called contract food service, and now it's kind of just, I guess you'd call it corporate food service. So we operate under contracts with clients who have businesses and want to feed their employees at work. And so that could be anything from, we do California Steel out in Fontana. They're a steel foundry. So, we feed all the guys working out in the steel mills. We also feed the people, the admin people in the offices and things like that. And so it can be much more industrial and manufacturing, or it can be completely white collar and office jobs. But so we provide the staff, we buy the food, cook and prepare the food, serve the food, clean up and keep all that, and food and beverage, keep all that in order. One of our benefits is that, we're not paying rent. We're in their facility. Equipment and things like that, they usually take care of those costs. And we don't pay for utilities. So those costs aren't something we have to bear. Now, the flip side of that, for the most part, we're not open to the public. We have a couple places that are open to the public, but even there, it's not really a public restaurant. A lot of people don't really go there for lunch, let's say. So we have a kind of a captive, limited audience. And again, that can be a pro and a con, obviously. And one of the things that Don, who was our founder, always told me was, you have to understand that people don't come to work to spend money. They're here to make money. And so, we have to be real mindful of being, either at market or below market in our pricing and that type of stuff. But we do have clients that understand that they want to provide that type of service for their employees, and so they're willing to subsidize the operation. If we say, look, it's going to take 5 people, and if we're going to take in X amount of dollars a day, we're not going to be able to cover those costs. So if you can kick in, this chunk of change per month, and the way I try to break it down to them is go, look, it might cost you like $1.50 per employee per day, for that benefit. And we've been fortunate that we've had a lot of good client relationships where they understand that if that necessity is there, that they can help us out. So it's strictly, Monday through Friday, breakfast and lunch deal for the most part.
Do you support any manufacturing sites that maybe work multiple shifts so that then runs into the evening, or is it?
Yeah, we don't. We have actually the only site we have right now they have a PM shift and a Saturday shift is Quest Diagnostics, which is in San Juan Capistrano, and they're open 365 because they always have lab results that they've got to turn over for them. So that's not really. I wouldn't call that a blue collar site just because the workers are lab techs, and so they're all educated and they're pretty white collar. But yeah, so and they're a place that helps us out. They understand that those PM shifts and that Saturday shift, it's a lot tougher to generate the necessary revenue. And so they see that as a benefit for their employees, and they're kind of isolated. They're a little bit up Ortega Highway. And so those people who go to work out there, they don't have a lot of options for food during the day. So yeah.
So that's really one of the benefits is it's first of all, it's a well-cooked, nutritious meal.
Right.
Secondly, it's super convenient because it's right there on premise.
Right. You don't got to get in your car. And, we try to cover the gamut with, we have salad bars. So people who have dietary restrictions or are really looking to kind of take care of themselves, they don't have to go get a burger. They can if they want to, but I mean, they can go to the salad bar, they can put together their own salad and, give it Italian dressing, low-fat Italian dressing, all greens, all their proteins can be beans,
Right. Yeah.
So what you say is true, is that we are providing a lot of different variety that most people couldn't get if they went to one, public place,
Yeah, and my experience back in the day is you end up running to probably nothing wrong with convenience food. Some call it fast food, but you shouldn't try to live on that as your dietary meals if you can help it.
Right.
So,
You got to have a little variety in life for sure. Yeah.
right. So that's less stress for the employees because then they only have so much time.
It is,
And,
yeah.
you take that commute time out of it. So it's probably a little more social too.
And gas prices, even that, I mean,
Right.
now is a
Right.
big factor.
So what's your service area?
Our service area is Southern California. So,
Okay.
San Diego County, Orange County, LA County, Riverside, Ventura. We don't venture much farther north than Oxnard and much farther east than, Riverside, Fontana. And we don't go over the border into Mexico. And so we're pretty geographically pretty tight,
So you're in a people business. I mean, really, you're a
100%.
service business. So
Yeah.
tell me about finding people. Is it challenging in your industry to maintain your workforce and grow?
It is. It's gotten a lot more challenging in the last probably. It's been. I wouldn't say it all entirely has to do with the pandemic per se. Some of it has to do with mandatory minimum wage increases and those types of things. The level of skill that a lot of our jobs have. They're not higher education jobs. You have to have experience and you get paid pretty well for that experience. But we're not paying people six figures to do the work we do. And so we've been so fortunate over the years to have really not a lot of turnover and have a lot of people who've been with us for 8, 11, 15 years. I mean, they stick in with us. One of the benefits that we have in the food service industry, as opposed to say, restaurants or hotels, is we're Monday through, for the most, 95%, we're Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 2:30 p.m. So people can have a relatively normal work day life. If they have younger kids who go to school, they can see them instead of, being asleep when they go to school and being at work when they get back from school, those type of things. Not working weekends helps. So, but it has been a challenge. I don't know that, honestly though, I don't know that we're that unique from any business. I think, especially the last year or two, just finding people who have the necessary experience and want to get stuck in, really want the job and want to grow with it, it has been a big challenge. Yeah.
So are you looking to hire people near where you need them? Like say
Usually.
Fontana? So, okay.
Yeah, usually. We're, when we advertise and when we put out all our stuff onto Indeed and all those, Monster and all those sites, the search sites, we go geographic specific, but we leave it up to the individual. If you live in Irvine and you see a job that you like in Westlake Village and you want to make the drive, that's fine. I wouldn't recommend it. I used to live in Huntington Beach and work in Culver City, and that was terrible. So and that was the 405, which is maybe the worst freeway in the universe. So
yeah, that's always busy.
It is always.
There's no such thing as rush hour on the 405. It's like
No.
always rush hour.
I mean, there's 2 airports sitting right next to them. You know what I mean? So that makes everything just a mess. So,
Right. Okay.
yeah.
So If you have a piece of business advice, either something that was given to you that you have found really meaningful for your career, or a piece of advice that you find valuable to give to others, is there something you could share with our audience today?
Yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot from a lot of different people, and most of it's probably maybe a little more specific to the business
Hmm.
that you're in. But one of the things that I've heard from various people, but that really got hammered home to me by my stepdad, by Don, the founder of Food Systems, was that you can't let business decisions be personal. You can't let them affect you personally, and they're going to, but you can't dwell on it, and you definitely don't. You never want to make decisions either based from anger or from elation. Any of the emotions, and not necessarily just anger. You can't get so giddy over something that you make a couple of really bad choices that end up later down the road making you kick yourself because you thought, well, that was just stupid. Why would I do that? So you have to kind of I don't want to say compartmentalize or detach yourself, but you kind of have to understand that those things are going on in their business, and you don't want to be impersonal, for sure, when you're dealing with people, whether it's your employees or with a prospective client. But you just kind of have to, you have to approach it you have to have your numbers or your information, right, and you got to lay it out for the person, and just let them know, you're only looking at this from a strictly business standpoint. Whether I'm saying to a manager, look, if we can't get your food costs down by 4%, what are we going to do? We got to do something. And so I'm not trying to make it personal to that person. I'm just trying to show them this is just how the business works. And so if we can get together, if you need help, let me know. But I don't want to make this about you. I want to make it about what has to happen for us to be successful.
Yeah, that's really good advice, because some of the emotions that you mentioned can really cloud your judgment.
They can, yeah.
And the other one that I've seen is people making it out of fear.
Yeah, right.
It can really
terrible way to operate.
Yeah.
Because that's where stress comes from, and that's where people not wanting to show up comes from. The dread. Now you gotta. It might be. You might be going in that day and thinking, I gotta get my what in gear. But at least if you're trying to approach it, like I say, from, hey man, they're just numbers. Let's see if we can make these numbers work for us.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah.
Nothing lasts forever. The good times or the bad. That's what I tell myself when I'm
That's great advice.
This isn't gonna last forever, so I just got to get through it and get to the other side. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Very true.
All right. Let's turn our attention to technology. And in your industry, how is technology impacting the business, or how do you see it impacting the business moving forward?
Well, I think the way I see it impacting it moving forward is what's happening right now, and I think most anybody watching or listening would know from their own experiences, whether they're going to the movie theater or one of the earlier places I saw it was at Yard House restaurants, where there's still a server, but they'll bring you over the kind of the mobile unit, and you can go ahead and order. They'll still take care of you, but they're starting to take away some of those duties and responsibilities, take it off of a person and lay it more on technology. And for us, in what we're doing, we're looking at that in a big way. One, because of labor costs, but two, because of efficiency. And, I'll give you an example, maybe even as little as 5 years ago, our card, credit debit card sales to cash sales were maybe 60-40, and they're probably like 85-15 now. Nobody's paying in cash. We struggle with it because when we look at it, we think, well, cash is great because it's tangible and you can see it. You don't pay bank fees, you don't pay merchant fees for it.
Right.
Flip side of it is cash is easy to steal, it's easy to lose, it's easy to miscount.
Yes.
So and so that technology has made leaps and bounds. We have a lot of places where people don't even pay with a card. We're getting most of our payments with phones and watches, Apple Watches, and so that's one thing that we've seen. That's kind of a technology that's come to us from customers. From our end, we're looking at like the kiosk situations, like I mentioned earlier at the theater. You'll go to the theater if you don't already buy your ticket beforehand, which we also do. You can go online, order your sandwich or your burger, show up, pick it up, it's ready to go. So that's how technology has obviously helped out. But it's pretty much it's that efficiency scale with labor, cost of labor, and if I look at putting 2 kiosks in, they're going to cost me $6,000 or $7,000, and maybe a couple $100 in fees a month. Whereas if I have one person there, that's in less than a quarter, less than 3 months, I will have that cost eaten up. So the thing I don't like about that is it takes a job away. It can take a person out of the workforce. And so, but I think that's something that quite a few businesses probably are weighing and struggling with, and that whole technology versus labor. I don't think technology is ever going to get rid of food. I hope not. That would be bad, but I don't think that's possible yet. But anything's possible, I guess. So
anything's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it wasn't the Jetsons. They were making food on the Jetsons. Yeah. So hey, who knows?
Pretty prescient too. A lot of the stuff on the Jetsons has come to fruition, except for flying cars. That was when I was a kid, the one I was always excited about. But
hold on.
Yeah, right. I may not make it there, but
well, you're a young man. I'm sure you might. The way technology is advancing, who knows? I saw an article recently about someone being given the right to test flying vehicles in a limited capacity. So I forget the details, but
it's bound to happen.
It is. Yeah. Right. Yeah. All those futuristic things do come true over time. Dick Tracy with his watch, right? Talking to his watch. So,
1,000%. Yeah.
There you go. All right. So let's look to tomorrow. Where do you see taking the firm, or you'll be back on the show, Tom, at some point in the future. Right. What's going to be different, or what's your vision for the future?
Well, for us, I think we are looking at, and we have been maybe for the last probably close to a year, the way things are shifting with work at home and those types of things. So we, our old model was based on how many people you had working on site. You had to have quite a few unless you wanted to heavily subsidize it. I mean, we've had accounts that have had only 100 people on site, but their monthly bills were, $25,000, $30,000. But they were tech firms. They had a lot of money. They wanted to take care of the 100 people who were on site. But typically, if we're going to go in and look at something and just try to make it on our own, a straight profit and loss without a subsidy, we need probably close to 600 people in the facility, in the building. And that used to be a lot more prevalent than it is now, at least in Southern California.
Right.
So, with that being said, we have to look at not just are we going to be now looking at business models that require subsidy as much as are we going to be looking at business models that are pretty much different. They're still going to be food service, but they're going to be drastically different. We have some accounts where we operate what we call micro markets, and they're kind of like open vending situations where you're not putting money into a machine and having the item drop. The items are just there. The drinks are in a cooler. There's sandwiches and wraps in a fridge. There's candy, chips, whole fruit, healthy stuff. You just come up, get your item, scan it, scan your card or watch or whatever, and pay, and you're good to go. And for us, it's worked really well because we operate those things in places of business, and so the propensity for theft is almost zero because people aren't going to risk their jobs for a banana, you know what I mean? Steal a banana. So we're kind of looking at those opportunities for us where when the company first started, when Don first started the company, we did food service, cafeteria food service, and we also did vending. He sold the vending piece of the business off in, I think, the mid 80s because it was becoming a drag on cost, a drag on the bottom line. So we got out of vending and we would subcontract it if we ever needed it on a contract. But we're now looking at, well, maybe this is the way of the future. an office that's got 75 people in. We put a couple of coolers in, and some of these coolers are pretty slick. Some of them we're not operating any right now, but they are all RFID tagged.
Oh,
So you load the machine, it knows everything that's in the machine, and somebody comes up to open the door to the cooler. They just got to scan their payment, and then they could take anything they want. They could empty the machine if they wanted to. I mean, I don't know why you would, but and it would charge them for everything they took out. And so inventory is all, you're getting live reports on that, and so there's some the technology for that really is advancing, just like you were saying with the flying cars. It's advancing rapidly.
right. Wow, that opens up whole new
It does.
opportunities for you, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for
Well,
you for responding to what the market requires. And
what we say
it
the other
never
day,
ends, does it?
I told you the other day, either you do or you don't. If you don't, go do something else. But if you want to stick in it, what you're doing, you gotta make sure that you're staying with it, staying with the times.
Right, because there's just so many more of those type of businesses that have that size population that
Yeah.
could benefit from that. That's fantastic. Okay,
Yeah.
somebody was going to want to reach out to you, Tom Snelling, or they're going to want to find out more about your firm. How do they do one or the other?
So for the company, the website is fsi72.com. You can go there. And we also have a Facebook page, just Food Systems Inc., one word, on Facebook. And then for me, LinkedIn, I'm just Tom Snelling on LinkedIn.
Well, I told you at the top of the show, ladies and gentlemen, this was going to be a great show. And Tom, you did not disappoint. Thank you for being a guest today.
I just followed your lead. You're the pro.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on, Rick. Thanks.
And thanks to the audience. You've been a part of Orange County's longest running business talk show.
Thank you, everybody.
If you're an entrepreneur or a nonprofit leader and you'd like to tell your story like Tom just did, then reach out to me. I'm Rick, R-I-C, Franzi, F-R-A-N-Z-I on LinkedIn. Coincidentally, that's also our website, rickfranzi.com. And Haley, our producer, or I will get back in touch with you and work you into our upcoming schedule. We're always looking to talk with Orange County entrepreneurs. And until the next time we have a chance to be together, I hope all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.